Senegal. And then finally, we have Dr. Ojichi Ukandu. Dr. Ukandu, if you are here. Okay. The topic for our panel discussion is on national occupational health and safety systems in West Africa. And there are three main things that I want us to focus our discussion on. The first is that let us understand OHS system across the different countries that are represented over here. And then we will do a gap analysis of it to understand what are the existing gaps within the occupational health and safety systems, and then what is the way forward. So this is going to be the way that we are going to have the discussion. To start with, if each of the speakers can take about 3 minutes, just give us an overview of the occupational health and safety system of your country, not just focusing on the legislation, but even on compliance assurance system, trainings, information networks, and any other thing that you feel should form parts of occupational health and safety management system. So just an overview of what actually exists in the individual countries that are represented over here. Yes, so I think we will start from my far right. And whilst the discussion is going on, if you have any question, just like you've been doing, you can write your question and then we would present that to our panelists.
Good afternoon, everybody. Let's stand on the existing protocol because we have just a few minutes to do this. What I'm going to look at is the overview of IOSH in Nigeria. Nigeria health and safety, occupational health and safety, is standing principally on the Factories Act. That is what it's standing on. So whatever we're going to be looking at is the possible gap we may have found there or whatever. There are other legislations, laws here and there. Aside from that, we have Minerals Act, we have other acts that are coming up. Like the Lagos State Commission Safety DG actually said, because of the situation, they've been able to weave the Lagos State Health and Safety around their own legislation. So that does not mean it's a huru all over the place. Lagos State is like 1/37. So in other words, that's a complete failure if you want to apply it. Though he even said that you can transpose what applies there. If you transpose it and they take you to court, if you get to court, it doesn't stand. As of January 2023, we have 850 factory inspectors in Nigeria. And that's a country of well over 200 million. We'll get the final figure when they do the statistics. As at 2019, the Corporate Affairs Registrar, Assistant Corporate Affairs Registrar, said 3.1 million companies were registered in Nigeria. So that gives you an idea of where 85 factory inspectors are going to be able to operate. Now, the question is, even the Factory Act itself, 1987, it came on board. It was reviewed 1990. 2004, it was reviewed. All these reviews did not carry any portion that had to do with the construction industry. That means if you are to, the factory inspectors can only visit the workshops in the factory, in the construction industry. They cannot go to the main construction. As at November last year, there was a document sent by Federal Ministry of Labor to stakeholders trying to develop what they call construction safety regulation. The Federation of Construction Industry equally came up in 2020. A committee, I was a member of that committee, produced the document. The document is stalled because of some interest of stakeholders they said their interests were not fully protected. So that gives an idea of what it looks like. So the construction industry, what they do in Nigeria as we speak is they engage in what we call self-regulation, the kind of internal policies. Company A from Germany, Company B from America knows that if somebody dies in their facilities, it's going to be call center, an expert being injured is going to be a problem. Programs are put in place. That is not to say it is the factory art that is pushing that. That is not to say it is the contract or the client that is pushing that. So it then means it's purely on that. And when we look at the case of awareness, the history of health and safety date back the British companies, UAC, and the railway, they started the issue of health and safety there. I'm just cutting in because he gave us just 3 minutes so that we could get it done. Now, the question is, the issue of accident is on the high side, and data, they say data is everything. Somebody did a research and said that SZ1 in 2001 said 2.1 per 100 injured workers, case of fatality. Then Uwemi Okafor, 2014, report that 49.5 per 100 workers are injured over 11-year period he did. He collected this document from data from the Federal Ministry of Labor. This is not reliable because many people, many organizations don't even report their incident. So you can see that this is even less. Now, like we have all understood, the bill, Labor Safety Health Welfare Bill, is being in the National Assembly and no attention has been given. So we have measures here to ensure, but I will leave that one because he said we should give an overview. But I want to just add the word of an analyst. In the words of an analyst, he put it certainly this way: no matter the efforts as providing the safety wares, the individual worker has to endeavor to work safely by acquiring safe work habits and safe work systems. Now, which make the accidents rare. What does this mean? If you a close review of the statement means that every worker has the responsibility to work safely. It means that the level of safety the worker can apply depends on the level of knowledge he has acquired about the job. That brings about training, which is completely lacking if you rely on the government machinery. Another fact embedded in the statement is that worker needs an enduring and sustainable environment to work safely, which will be provided by the employer, client, and the government. The government does this by rolling out enabling laws and regulations and ensuring compliance to these laws and regulations. But the question is that it is dysfunctional, it's ineffective, and the impact is not there. So if we are going to be pushing this question of labor rights, then the fundamentals is a strong and basic regulation that shall push this. A situation whereby we already have a defective regulation hanging on factories act, and we have 800, as of January, 850 factory inspectors, and as of 2019, 3.1 million companies were registered. Then we have a long way to go. There's need for synergy, like collaboration is needed, like some of these public health regulations that are there, synergy is needed. I want to conclude this with this. When the ILO gave this directive that occupational health and safety is not labor rights, they immediately wrote a circular in the federal ministry in Nigeria. The head of service said labor safety desk should be developed from safety officer up to director of safety. And that is what is ongoing. They started pushing people from various departments to these other departments. But these are people that know next to nothing. The Federal Ministry of Labor started kicking that this is under our portfolio. How can it be under your portfolio when you have 850 inspectors? So we'll discuss further if there is opportunity. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I am told that we've been joined online by Mrs. Diouf, so I think I after Engineer Joe Steve, Mrs. Diop would also give us an overview of OHS system in Senegal. So, Engineer Joe Steve.
Thanks, Doc. Yeah, so good afternoon once again. Way back 2008 or 2009, I did some gap analysis as far as where we sat as a country when it comes to occupational health and I even did a small article on it. I'm sure you can Google, you'll see it. At that time, I would say that we were a country that didn't even have a facility or a concept as far as our academic institutions are concerned, even training people to understand occupational health and safety. It wasn't being taught in any of our universities at that time. Not in the engineering schools, not in the medical schools, nowhere. It was a concept that we were all working by based on what the companies were coming with, depending on whatever laws apply in their respective countries. Now, fast forward, 2012, there comes some regulations and LI 2182, etc. in the mining industry. But at that time, I was in the oil and gas industry then. I had left the mining industry. But then also, there were laws in the oil and gas industry as well, where Petroleum Commission was being empowered, and then the GMPC and all those guys were coming on board, and they were visiting us on the FPSO and on their rigs as well, coming to do inspections from safety perspective. So, and that was a step up in a journey. Now you look at health and safety or workers' mandate to work in a safe environment. It takes its mandate or validity from the Constitution under the Chapter 5 of the Constitution, Republic of Ghana Constitution 1992. And out of this Constitution has been different acts. Of course, there were some acts there before the Constitution, you know, so they are existing laws, like the factory offices and all those acts that back the factory inspectorate division and the rest. And then there are also some acts like the Labor Act that the minister, the deputy minister quoted is also an act. But if you look at all these acts, they have their limitations. They are under respective jurisdictions which don't necessarily work together or which don't necessarily share notes. So currently, we've moved from where we didn't have any concept to where at least we have some acts under some jurisdictions which can be enforced. I mean, they are enforceable rules, so they are laws. Now, on this journey, we have to move to a state where we can say that, and I was very happy some people were asking the deputy minister, where is the bill, when is it going to be ratified or signed, or whatever is it in the parliament, and when that one comes, it will probably be an umbrella under which all other acts and laws for health and safety will take its jurisdiction. But that is non-existent, and I believe it tells you from legal perspective where we sit as a country. In terms of, okay, so let me put the legal stuff aside. In terms of practice, you will realize that we have also come far. I remember 2003 or 4, way back at then Chirano mine construction. I was there with Gideon, where you have to battle project managers just because of procurement of PPEs and the rest. It was, I mean, that bad. In the mining industry and even in the oil and gas industry, I can say per practice, we've migrated from that. Now, people know that before I get an employee to work, he has to be inducted. Being inducted means you are being empowered to know that you need to put on, use these PPEs and that kind of things before you go to the workplace. We're still growing. Some few companies, after induction, they don't do anything again. Okay, go and work. All that they do is go and learn your work or work. in your area you've been recruited, but as a best practice where we've not yet gotten there. I must say construction, in the construction industry, let's put mine construction aside. In the general construction industry in the nation, I think we are way behind by practice. By laws, there are laws. But by practice, we are way behind. I have personally, on this Tema stretch, Committee 4 runabout, when you are going to CPC, they were mounting a billboard. The guys were hanging like monkeys. I stopped. I was scared. I stopped and I was like, guys, get down, put on your safety. They actually insulted me. And I had to, jump back into my car and then drive on. So, as a country, I think by practice, our knowledge, spread of our knowledge is not uniform. You realize that in some industries, people are aware. Some other industries, it's even a taboo to talk about it. They will insult you. And some industries, we are learning, all within the same country. And I believe we all know why it's like that. Because we don't have any umbrella regulator which is uniformly implementing this across the nation. So it brings a bit of a gap. Now, now I've talked about legal aspect, I've talked about practice. Let me talk about the last bit, the regulator responsibility. You realize that in some of the industries, we don't even see the regulators. Sorry, I know we have factory offices. You are the one there. Okay. So I know we have factory offices and the Shops Act workers here, the factory inspectorate and the rest. They are either not resourced or, I don't know for whatever reason, but if you are here, you are there. I'm telling you, we don't see you in a lot of places. So, no, don't worry, I'm saying it the way it is. So you realize that the personnel that are supposed to be on the field, checking what's going on, creating the awareness, mentoring and coaching people to be able to act correctly at the workplaces, and even enforcing the regulations and the laws are barely found in a lot of other. Maybe they are in Accra. Go to the Cape Coast roads, the Ayamfuri Road, and the Obuasi Road, and the Kenyasi Road. It's all parts of the country, isn't it? So if 10 people are dying on the Obuasi Road and nobody is dying in Accra, the country is still losing labor because of construction unsafe practices. There we are lacking a lot. So in brief, I'm ending it. As a nation, we have some laws. Laws which are good but incomplete. As a nation, we have some good practices in some industries, but in some other industries, health and safety appears like don't even exist. And as a nation, when we are regulating people and we are supervising and inspecting people, we reach out to some areas, and in some other industries, they don't even see anybody. So that's where we sit as a nation when it comes to health and safety practice in Ghana. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Mrs. Diouf, please, if you can join us and just give us an overview within 3 minutes. We'll be glad if our speakers can just limit themselves to this time. 3 minutes, just an overview.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Are you hearing me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mrs. Diouf from Senegal, HSC professional engineer. Okay. I want to give my point of view of HSC system national in Senegal. For the regulation national HSC in Senegal, the right to occupational safety and health is based on the Constitution of the Republic of Senegal, in particularly Article 7 and 8, which guarantee all citizens, among other rights, the right to life, work, safety, health, and environment and physical integrity. Specifically, as an important legal and institutional mechanism in occupational safety and health has been put in place through the Senegalese Labor Code in its Title 6 and its implication text strongly inspired by the relevant convention and recommendation of the International Labour Organizations, ILO, in particular the conventional number 155 on the safety and health of workers and number 161 on occupational health services. Also, an important legal mechanism in our system is a Senegalese ratificate for the 3 OHSE framework conventional and become fundamental convention in June 2022 and C 126. From my point of view of the situation, our creation of the National Occupational Health and Safety documents, there is a significant number of work accident and occupational disease recording at the level of the Social Security Fund. For the data statistic in accident and also the occupational disease. Thank you very much. I try to have some information. Okay.
We have Dr. Ukanda, who will be giving us a 2-minute overview of the situation in Ivory Coast.
Good afternoon, everyone. Standing on the existing protocols. Originally, I was meant to speak on Nigeria, but somehow, this afternoon or in the morning, when I opened the program, I saw myself Ivory Coast. I said, oh, probably the finger, when it was operating the computer, picked my name down to Ivory Coast. And you know one thing, Ivory Coast is a safe country. It's a peaceful nation. The laws, how many of us are from Ivory Coast, please? Let me start from there. How many from Ivory Coast here that are attending this program, this wonderful program? None. Okay. But I want to understand that in Ivory Coast, you have the departments like prevention and health department that takes care of labor issues and company issues. We also have other legislation that the government absolutely engineered. However, OSHA improvement in Ivory Coast is indeed something that we need. Just like in Nigeria, Ivory Coast is coming up, but then we need more improvement in terms of occupational safety and health. The issue of accident costs across all West African nations is not peculiar to a particular nation. So what is happening in Nigeria is also happening in other nations, like Ghana, Ivory Coast, Senegal, and the rest of them. What we need is absolute training. What we need is practicality of what we have learned. What we need is the government to empower the organization. I will round off with this story. I visited my friend in New York. In the course of our discussion, he said that some safety auditors, they will be coming to his hospital. I said, what? What are they coming to do? He said, they gave them information that they will come in a month's time, and it's now about the time for them to come. I said, okay, what would they do? They will audit the hospital, and if they are found wanting, they'll be given 3 weeks to close up, to close out all the shortcomings. And if they do not, they will come back and they will shut down the hospital. It is applicable in other organizations. Can we be able to take up that? Can it happen in African nation? Yes, it can. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I think from all the overview that we have heard so far, it appears there is a commonality across these 4 different countries. There are pieces and fragmented of regulatory or some kind of legal framework so far as occupational health and safety is concerned. Why is that not enough? When the minister was here, majority of us were clapping for the passage of the IOSH bill. In Ghana, I know we have the Factory Office and Shop Act. We have the Workman Compensation Law, which is a PNDC law. We have the LI 2182 for the mining sector. Part 15 of the Labor Act actually focuses more on occupational health and safety, and there is even a labor regulation that also focuses more on occupational health and safety. We have a fire regulation. Part of the fire regulation talks about occupational health. So we tend to have very similar to the situation in Nigeria also. We have all these pieces of fragmented laws. Why are we still advocating for us to have a comprehensive occupational health and safety law? What is actually the problem with all the existing regulations that we have? And then the passage of the bill, is it going to be the panacea to address or solve all the occupational health and safety problems that we have in our country? Because, I mean, it appears that is the feeling in the public that once the bill is passed, then hooray, everything is going to be addressed. Is that the situation, or there is more beyond just the bill? I will take about a minute from each of the panelists over here for the sake of time. So just a minute's reaction.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yes, it's not just about passing of the bill alone. The bill is one aspect of it. Implementation is another. It is one thing for you to create a law, and it's another to enforce the law. Unfortunately, we are also part of the problem. Am I communicating? We are part of the problem. How? The bill has been passed. Necessary things that ought to be done are all there, but do we have the strength, the ability to follow up, to do what the law has stated? It's not just the law, but it's also about implementation. It's also about us doing the right thing. Like the speaker, the last speaker that said he was able to report an incident. If I am paid maybe $750 a week and I saw an issue, I refuse to report, because if I report that issue, what will happen? Likeliness of sacking me. If they sack me, what will I do? How would I feed my family? That is where we come in. But if I'm bold enough to say, no, I must report it like the gentleman did, we will get it right from there. So it's not about the bill alone, but it's also about following up, implementing it as it ought to be. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Doc. So I will put it this way. So a bill has been passed. People are enforcing it, right? If a regulator comes to my factory and the regulator doesn't know what he is about, I mean, how can you come and regulate me? You know, our regulators themselves, a lot of them need to be educated. I must be honest. I know a lot of you are here, but I must be blunt. Some of you don't know your job. So some of you need to be trained. You know, you walk to the, let's say, some shore base, onshore oil and gas facility, place, you know, facility. And you don't know stuff about manual handling, the rigging procedures, how a crane is supposed to work, stacking of the pipes, material handling, the safety across it. But this is onshore. Even though, within the petroleum stuff, they have regulators. You are there as a regulator in terms of health and safety. How can you regulate a company? You can't. So you go and then fraternize and that kind of thing and walk away. How will the laws be enforced? You know, I'm just using oil and gas onshore as an example. Offshore, you see some people come and eat. I mean, look, offshore we eat very well. They take care of you very well. So they take care of all of us, and before you realize, we are going for meetings and start work by 6 a.m. and the regulator is sleeping. How can you do your work? I'm speaking from experience. I've worked in all these areas. I've worked in oil and gas, construction, mine. I've worked in all these areas. So I know I'm speaking from experience, not from books. Right? So education of our regulators, enforcers, their knowledge and their experience is important. We can pass all the laws in this world. If the person coming to enforce the law is oblivious of what the law is supposed to do, well, I mean, the laws will not work. And the last bit of it is the backhanding. Some of the regulators will come and take some money and walk away, and then they will do. So, sorry, I've said it, but it's what it is, right? Yeah, that's also another thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Like the moderator rightly said, he mentioned some of the laws and regulations in Ghana. We equally have them in Nigeria. But what I said is dysfunctional, it's fragmented, and it's neither here nor there. And that is where it stands. Why we tend to emphasize the Ministry of Labor and the factory inspectors, because it happens to be the pivot on which the labor thing stands. But the clear thing is that many of the factory inspectors, they know next to nothing in this business. There was a time we had to go, they go to the workshops. They came in and there's this telescopic crane. The guy was asking me, he said, where is the safe working load? And I was with a German there. That one I said, what is he asking? You know, the telescopic, once it brings out the boom, and if it brings out the hook and touches the load, the weight of the load will just show. But he was looking for that old one where you write SWL. So that's what I was looking for. I was pitching him. He was just, so the white man, I said, what is he asking for? And I said, he's just asking that, let's look at the weight. That was the way. We had to avoid it. There was a time they came to our facility, and if I had to call their boss, I said, look, please tell them to go back because they can't inspect anything. The guy came with this Brazilian hair all over the place, coming to my site. So you want to check the workshop? They had to go back. No safety shoe, nothing. So they are not trained enough, and they don't know what to do. It is not as if all the regulations, like what happened in the UK, you have HSG 65, HSG 131, all those things, those regulations are there. For example, you have the mining regulations in Nigeria. Unless now, you cannot bring that one to the bridge. So we need to be able to harmonize these things and come up with clear the details and the people to enforce it. Like in Nigeria, the thing is hinged on principally like in our organization, what we use, we produce procedures ourselves. Procedures which we use, work at height procedure, accident investigation procedures, approved internally, which we use in driving our facilities. So what are we to say? If you compare what you have outside, ours appear to be better, because you do not have external body who is capable enough to be able to drive the process. This is where we are. So it's purely an issue. It's not you can bring all the regulation, like my friend Radley said, all the regulation in the whole world. The implementation is the problem. So the factory inspectors we have here, let this word become a lesson for you. Maybe the fire can start burning from you here and burn to the rest of Africa. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We are happy to also have the Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency of Ghana here. Sir, please, can you give us a wave? Thank you so much. We are happy for your presence. Now, to online, Mrs. Diop, please, do you have any comments on the question that I posed? Okay, I guess we will take the last round of contributions. There was something the minister mentioned when he spoke about the passage of the bill. He spoke about different interests, which I think is something that is real. For instance, in Ghana, the Factory Office and Shop Act gives a definition of a factory, office, and shop. That definition actually excludes the mining industry from it. It doesn't include the mining industry. So the factory inspector does not even have any, legal rights to enter into a mine. There is that interest. Probably in the passage of the bill, he would want to have that, ability to go there. The Minerals Commission is having an inspectorate division which is doing that work. So once you have this act, I'm sure obviously it will come with a particular regulatory body. I know that the Ghana Atomic Commission is also now going into mines doing monitoring of radiations. So we have a lot of interest. My question, the first question is, what role can we play as professionals to be able to manage this interest, especially when we have opportunity to talk to the lawmakers, so that they'll be able to overcome all these interests to pass a bill that will be in the interest of Ghanaians, and to be able to overcome the challenges that all the various interest groups would have. My second question is an example that we can learn from industries that are practicing OHS very well. And I think Engineer Joe Steve, you actually gave an example of mining. If you look at health and safety in mining, it's more matured than construction, more matured in several other industries in Ghana. Beyond the challenges that we have mentioned, what happened in mining? Because I'm sure previously it was not like that. What happened in mining that actually caused that advancement? And then to the other countries, if there is another industry that is making a lot of progress, how can we leverage on that industry to effect a change in other industries where the progress is not as we expect? So these are my two questions, and I think this will be the last round of questions and response that we will take. Thank you. So we will start with you, Engineer Joe Steve.
Tough ones. So, with respect to the mining bit, or maybe I will go back to the first one. Okay, but no, let me talk about the mining bit. The mining industry, as far as I know, has, apart from the regulators, right, the health and safety practice in the mining industry started taking its validity from the corporate entities, the laws of the countries where they are coming from. So for instance, if, let's say, if it's Newmont, for example, their health and safety practices and procedures and stuff took its validity from the OSHAs and the MSHAs and the ACGIHs and the rest. If it's let's say Goldfields, because it's a South African company, they would take theirs from South Africa. So at the time, we didn't even have much to do as far as regulation is concerned. However, the act which mandated the promulgation of the legislative instrument LI 2182 and also the EPA Act and all that stuff, they all come together to have their respective interest in terms of activities, requirements that the mining companies need to comply with. So whilst the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission is coming and chasing the mining industry, we need this, you need to do that, you need to do that. EPA is on them, Water Resource Commission is on them, and these are, okay, so the fragmented nature coming to that. All these are different statutory entities that are exercising their mandates, but not necessarily coordinated under one umbrella. Now, you realize that if I'm using this to come back to the fragmented nature of the stuff, of our laws and then passing of the bill, you realize that when the bill gets passed, left with me, what I will say is the authority of the current institutions should not be relinquished. The law or the act, whatever it is, the Health and Safety Act can be passed. It can establish kind of a supervisory role over all these agencies when it comes to health and safety. But Inspectorate Division has their work they are doing. Petroleum Commission, they have their work they are doing. EPA, all these Water Resource Commission, they have their work they are doing. The bill should seek to coordinate these activities in terms of supervisory role, but not enacting it in such a way that it will employ different people to be doing the same thing that is already happening in the nation, so that they can identify the gaps. So it is only where the gaps are that they can actually, now that authority based on the new bill when it gets into an act, that they probably can recruit. For instance, if you go to some of the manufacturing companies, which I know they are under Factory Officers and Shops Act, they are not covered. They can help them to fill in. But when they pass that bill and they come up with a different entity, relinquishing the authorities, responsibilities, accountabilities of the existing institutions, trust me, there will be another chaos. And we will not reap the benefit of what? Implementing the health and safety bill. I would say the mining industry has suffered fines, series of fines from the regulators upon incidents. Trust me, it also works. Apart from ensuring that the companies are working based on procedures. When you breach, you get improvement notice. When you breach again, you get prohibitory notice. After prohibitory notice, the least amount is $10,000 for an incident. And look, you will be fined or you will be shut down. Which of them do you want? You will pay. So the company, if they breach and they get the improvement notice, they will make sure they don't get prohibitory notice. Because after prohibitory notice from the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission Inspector, it's a fine. And it also works. That's why one of our presenters said discipline is also important. Right? If you continually breach the regulations or work unsafely, you will also be fined. So I think that has also brought some discipline in it. So that's my combined answer to your questions. Right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So, yes.
Just by way of summarizing, it is not, when we talk about health and safety, many of us are here could be health and safety. Some of them have studied economics, studied history, and looking for a job. You see yourself doing your occupational health and safety. That does not mean if they go ahead and put a regulation, you go to the mining and say you are health and safety. That's not true. You won't be able to operate. Health and safety in the mining need, for example, a mining engineer, metallurgical engineer, chemical engineers to be able to operate. If you go to like a quarry, for example, there's a way you have to cut it. Trapezoidal, if you cut it 90 degrees, you're on your own. In fact, do you know the kind of rock? You don't know the kind of rock. So even if they are bringing regulations like what my friend said, the principal ministry should be the author of that regulation. Like in the Borough Pit, I know that Nesra in Abuja, they act as an interloper. Pardon my word. If you go to the Borough Pit, they say you are degrading the environment. But the principal thing, all of that action should be secondary The primary focus should be that ministry, professional ministry, like Ministry of Mines and Solid Minerals, where you have many of them as mining engineers. All you need to do is to tune them, and tuning them is just very simple. An engineer knows the health and safety implications of most of these things. All you need to do is to tune them, and they are able to drive it. I think what is lacking from my experience is loyalty. Loyalty is not there. They could know this thing is wrong. They point it out. And when the whole thing gets to an atmosphere, then the question is what happens? So so if they are ready to do things the way, then it's fine. Then the way out, like he is asking, right here, there is one regulation, 85 of 1993, that South Africa is using. If you Google it, you will see it. It contains almost all these items. So it could help us to lump so many things together and how to implement it on the way forward. That would be my take. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Just to wrap up, I want to give a practical example, the happening in Nigeria after the passage of a bill on Institute of Safety Professionals of Nigeria to take care of safety and health issues in Nigeria. I think our challenge here is, though an act has been given, and a bill has been given, empowering this bill to do what it ought to do and not bending it. The instrument has been given the enforcement, but then the same government that gave them that power will bend along the line. We should be able to lecture these people to know that, yes, if you have passed the bill, you should give us the whole power to execute that action. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Diouf, please, if you are still with us online, any final words?
Okay, I'm here. Okay. From my point of view for this question, I would like to OHSC laws and regulations that have not been revised since and with the advancement of the work technology system. Of the various factories and extractive industry. West Africa has a serious problem with the implementation of OHSC in this different workplace. But regardless, the different sectors of activities will be an important component of the program plans and also the prospect that will allow him to achieve it. Like the West African perspective for following this the different regulation is for to adopt of a drive degree on occupational safety services and sometimes revision of the labor code and the single social security code also. And my point of view for the regulation of some OHSC laws is for each national level instead of adopting or referring to some regulation in West Africa, it will be a good program for also the national for also establishment of a joint national technical advisory committee to establish issue relating to OHSC of workers. Now, in Senegal, we have a new project for oil and gas, and we don't have the oil and gas system and laws of the national system, and I ask if the program will be is a program on our document of our police national documents, and also for our system, for training system, regulation and laws system to oil and gas, like the minor laws. Senegalese has also the laws and regulation in the minor system. We have to improve to improve the implementation for the OHSC procedures in the extractive sector in Senegal, and also for our creating to national policy, we have also the weakness and opportunities like the existence of association and group of OHSC professionals, the strength, the existence of a core group committee, stakeholder and professional OHSC institution. Also the existence of national OHSC system, legal and institutional framework. And for the weaknesses, how like West Africa, they have the same problem with Nigeria and Ghana. Like also the lack of coordination among stakeholders regarding OHSC practice and program. In West Africa, we have also, like Senegal, the insufficient human resource and logistics to enforce OHSC legal standard, and we will work for the system and show that the emphasis must be placed on strength.
Mrs. Diop, thank you very much.
And also to implement and maintain application legal and technical OHSC standard. Thank you very much.
All right.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much, and I will encourage us to continue this conversation. So, advancing occupational health and safety management systems in Africa, or in West Africa, actually goes beyond just passage of the bill. There has to be compliance, assurance, monitoring. There has to be proper training and education, and then there has to be very good communication network as well being established. Thank you very much to the panelists for sharing their knowledge with us. And just to also introduce the director for the Department of Factory Inspectorates, I think a lot has been said about factory inspectors. And we have the director in Ghana among us is my good friend, Mr. George Gashom. Please, can you give us a wave? So all your issues about the factory inspectors, you can see him after the session and then engage him more on that.
Thank you very much. Please, let's give our speakers a round of applause as well. Thank you, as they make their way to their seat. Wow. I know I have a query. I got a lot of feedbacks. We are occupational health and safety professionals, and we have been sitting for too long. However, that time has come for us to go for our lunch break. So we'll all go. For the VIPs, please, you would use the same place where you had your tea break, while the rest of us will go to where we had the tea break as well. Please use this opportunity, the break, the lunch time, to also network, speak with a couple of professionals that we have, and then we'll be back in 40 minutes. We'll be back in 40 minutes, and then we'll break into different other sessions as well. Please, okay, so. I beg you, we'll just do this shortly in five minutes, and we'll be out for our lunch. I just got an information that we need to present our awards here at the main auditorium for a couple of persons. Please, and to do justice to that, I'll be calling the IOSH president to come and coordinate these for us. Mr. Lawrence, over to you. Please, can we clap for him as he comes? Okay. This will be presented to Dr. Dorothy Ngajilo. Please, if you're here or our representative is here, you can come and pick this award for. Oh, she's here. Please, a round of applause. Yeah, please. You're presenting to her an appreciation award. IOSH is presenting this in appreciation to your presentation here and collaboration with UN. Let's have the next award. Okay. This is to be presented to Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid in recognition, appreciation for your contribution to IOSH West Africa Conference, Ghana. Please, his representative here can come. Thank you. This is to be presented to Iyenoma Osaze for your contribution to IOSH West Africa Conference 2023. Thank you. ILO Ghana office for your contribution to IOSH West African Conference. Who is speaking this on behalf of ILO? Okay, I think we might have to do this later. Okay, UN Global Compact, Ghana. Thank you, sir. Okay. Any other thing? Is there another thing? Okay, we're presenting to Alan Stevens for your contribution to IOSH West African Conference. You do? This is gone. They are not available. Okay, Institution of Engineering and Technology, if their representative is here, please you can come forward to pick your award. I'm sure they'll come back for it later. Ochuko Felix Orikpete, for your contribution to IOSH West African Conference. Engineer Kayode Fowode, for your contribution to IOSH West African Conference 2023. Please give him a round of applause. Okay, Dakpo Omolade, for your contribution to IOSH West Africa, please come pick your award. Mr. Dakpo Omolade, okay, can somebody pick this on his behalf? All right, Mr. Temitokwe Mudele, thank you. Eric Stem, right? Eric Stem, for your contribution to IOSH West African Conference. Yes. You keep this one first. Is that fine? Is that the last one? Okay, let's even give it to me so that I can just. All right, IOSH West African Chair, Temitokwe Mudele. Please clap for him. That's the man leading Africa's. Please, okay, we can call him again. We can call him again. Bring that person. All right, my very good friend, Edward Debra, for your contribution to IOSH West African Conference 2023. Yeah, here you go. Department of Factories Inspectorate. Department of Factories Inspectorate. Anybody representing them? Sir, okay. Mr. Dakpo Molade, please you can come for your award. Okay, and to the man that will say it as it is, Engineer Joseph Anand, please come for your award. Hannah Adejay Mensah. Ernest Alazi. I apologize if I'm murdering the name. I apologize. Joan Umbro. For your contributions to IOSH West African Conference. Okay. We have this for our presenter, virtual presenter, Kadidiatu Diouf would actually send this to you. Thank you. Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. Anybody, any representative? Ministry of Labor and Employment. Any other one? Let me bring. Alan, please, can you come so that we can just release the president? Lawrence, you can go have a seat. Yeah. But before you go, I'm sure Alan will present your award to you. So please, just step back and pick your award. So this is presented to IOSH President Lawrence Webb. Gideon Amenuveve. All right. Thank you. So presenting that to any other no. Okay. Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. I know I promised 5 minutes, please. Just give me another 5 minutes, please. I apologize. Are we almost done? Samuel Udobasi. That's all I do. Ghana Road Safety Commission. Okay. Jamiu Badmos. Jamiu Badmos, anybody representing to pick this up for him? That's all. John Kwamina Montford. One of those that have given us a nice time and still giving us a nice time, Diana Osei. Ghana Red Cross Society. Anybody representing? Okay, great. No, nobody's here. They don't have a... Nobody's here. Dr. John Ugbebo. American Society of Safety Professionals. I know the immediate past president is here and the incoming is also here, so please the incoming can come and pick this. Bank of Ghana. No, yeah, just in line. Sir, just okay, you can present. You can take it since she's still far. Lawyer Richardson. Lawyer Richard Sena Hotter. Anthony, you can prepare to step forward. Yeah. Anthony Atencio. Please give him a round of applause. He's been doing a whole lot before this day and still doing. Our able Vice Chair, Arumosoye Oluwakemi. Thank you. Franklin Onyene. University of Port Harcourt, their representative can come and pick this. University of Port Harcourt. Institute of Safety Professionals of Nigeria. You're welcome, sir. To be followed by Ransford Gimbra. Ivan Ajauto. Emmanuel Aljete. Florence Asivi. Ojengbede Adegboyega Abdurrahim. Rig World Group, representative of Rig World Group. (37) Military Hospital. (37) Military Hospital. Monica Nwosu. That's all, right? Emmanuel. Please, can I have Emmanuel's award? I think they packed it mistakenly.
Is there anyone whose name has been called out that they're waiting for?
I'm not sure. Emmanuel.
There we go.
Yeah. I think he's a patient man. And finally, to my humble self.
Whoops.
Thanks, all right, I'm sure you guys can pardon me and we can go for lunch now. Thank you very much. So we can be back in 40 minutes. Thank you. Oh, let me pack this.
Different nations, but with one voice, with one goal. Because we see safety as a priority, protecting our world from injuries, putting all we can for the future we see. For we think safety, safety for our people, safety in your workplace and your home. Yes, we think safety, safety in our nation, and a healthier, brighter future for all people. For we think safety, safety for our people, safety in your workplace and your home. Yes, we think safety, safety in our nation, and a healthier, brighter future for our people. So we stand for the laborer, for our vision of tomorrow starts today. So we've decided that we will sit and watch. So we stand up for the future we